Now let's take a look at two final aspects of anchoring that I mentioned we'd talk about. How do we take advantage of anchors that are already there? Well, one thing I already mentioned is how you could use music, for example. Another example I can give you is what we do with our own people around the country. We're fortunate enough to have some really powerful and successful people who represent us and whose job it is to go out into organizations and do talks, free talks in the business community, the purpose of which is to share this technology with people, and by our giving tons of value, much more than we expect back, to entice people to come to our actual programs. We do business programs around the country, and we have 1,000 to 2,000 people at them. And we fill them with a few key, powerful people who do this for us. Well, doing this day after day, just like anything else, is not always easy. So what we help them to do is to get themselves in state by using anchors that already exist. So we fire off anchors of my own tapes. We use various tools. One of the things we do many times is we get some comedians' tapes. You take Eddie Murphy or somebody that we know that they like, and we have them listen to him right before they go in to speak. Well, what happens is they're laughing, and they're in this wonderful state as they walk in. That's totally different than sitting there and putting yourself in a state of, oh my God, will I do well or not? Total different shift. So you can use those kinds of anchors. Or I can give you a good example of how you can use them in business if you're a business person. Anchors are rampant in the business community. There are all kinds of rituals and triggers and protocol. And if you learn to use it effectively, it's amazing the kinds of results that you can produce in a business environment. Let me give you an example. I mentioned earlier on these tapes about the work I'd done with the Army. What I didn't mention is how I negotiated that deal. I went in and basically convinced this general that one, that I could at least potentially produce the results I had promised him, and two, that even if I didn't, he had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and that we could create a win-win deal. He decided to go ahead. So he set up a meeting with myself and my partner and the appropriate officers who could work out, the times and the prices and locations and all the other things that would be involved. So what was interesting is we met in this incredible conference room, underground, literally a war room. It was rather dramatic, to say the least, like being in a movie. And this whole thing was set up in this giant horseshoe. And at the front of the table is where the general sits, was his chair, which, by the way, was marked out very clearly. Well, as we negotiated and we came down to price, we kept running into this problem. That is, they didn't want to pay me what I thought I was worth, which was a challenge, especially since I was willing to be paid nothing if I didn't produce the results I promised. But we kept going in this circle. Finally, I came up with an idea. While I was talking, I began to walk around the room, and I began to stop periodically right at the general's chair. Now realize the general's chair is what we call a major anchor. In other words, these people have been conditioned, meeting after meeting after meeting, that anything comes out of that chair, you respond to immediately, instantly, without any question whatsoever. It was an anchor of power. So all I would do is walk around and at certain key moments, stop there and communicate something. And I began to notice that what I thought might be true was true. The ideas I promoted at the moments I was at his chair seemed to get very little or no negative response. Finally, myself and my partner began to alternate our conversation right around the chair, and I sat down in the general's chair and offered at that moment the price that I must have. There was no argument whatsoever. They looked around at each other and said, all right, well, let's just go ahead. That is how powerful anchors can be in negotiations. I want you to know that anchors exist around you all the time. You need to pay attention to them and utilize them.
Again, that's what advertisers are doing. You remember the story I talked to you about earlier with Michael Jackson, right? They used him as an anchor to get people in state, and then they transferred his power to Pepsi. Now, as you also know, when it looked like Michael Jackson may have done something wrong, they got rid of him. They didn't want to be associated to him. Now that a lot of people think he didn't do anything wrong, now they're wanting him back again. This is the power of anchors. It's amazing. Now, you can do this to influence your own children, though. You can use the same techniques. Find somebody that they have as a role model and communicate something that this person has said. In other words, say, well, I noticed this role model person of yours says you've got to do this, this, and that. And immediately watch what happens. If you're convincing, if you're really certain when you deliver this communication, you may find your children respond very powerfully. Better yet, if you can find an article where they were interviewed and this person they respect says something that you agree with, I would clearly actually show the child that article or show them a copy of a video of that news piece. This has tremendous power to influence.
I want you to think creatively. What are some of the anchors around you that you could use to immediately be more effective? If you're in sales, what are some triggers you could have so that when people first meet you, they immediately like you?
Do you remember Colonel Oliver North? Do you remember back in those days of the Iran-Contra affair?
Did he use anchors in an effective way to influence mass number of people's feelings about him? Hey, statistics showed that before the Iran-Contra hearings, which of course were televised and most of us watched, did you watch them? Before that happened, less than 25% of the United States, depending upon which poll you read, was in major support of him. Within a couple days, it was up around 60% or more, to begin depending upon which poll you read. What was different? Well, I'll tell you one thing that was different. Colonel Oliver North showed up wearing this little thing called a uniform. Now think about that. Not just any uniform, a Marine uniform with every medal he'd ever earned since the Cub Scouts. I mean, this guy was loaded. I mean, clearly the minute we saw him, the anchor was, this man is a hero. Do you think that affected the way you would evaluate his answers? I'm not saying he was right or wrong or anything like that. I just want you to know they used anchors brilliantly. His advisors did, to make sure we felt that way. Did he wear his uniform every day at the White House? No. Why was he wearing it that day? Because he hadn't worn the uniform in a long time and he wanted to wear it, obviously. Clearly, he understood the power of anchors. And anyone who's successful does take advantage of the anchors that are already around you or create some. So what we've talked about then are the following. One, that we're already anchoring. We just have to become aware of the fact that we're already doing it, so we don't create negative anchors accidentally. Two, we've reviewed the process of anchoring, and we've given you some key fundamentals on that. Three, we've talked about how to really eliminate negative anchors. So if you've already got some associations that are not supporting you, like you see your boss and you get angry, we've given you some ways to literally get rid of those. And then four, we've talked about how to utilize anchors that are already around you and hopefully get you to start paying attention to those so you have more power. You utilize what's already been created in your environment. The last thing I want to chat with you about and actually have you do is something I call a swish pattern. And again, what a swish pattern is a way not just to anchor one feeling. In other words, I can have you think of a time in your life when you felt really loved, and at that moment, I can reach up and, let's say, touch your ear with a real soft touch and go, yeah. And I have you think of another time when you felt really loved, and right at that key moment, I can reach up and go, yeah. And I can do that enough times till pretty soon I reach up and touch your ear, even when you're not feeling love or even thinking about it, and go, yeah, and you'll feel loved. Now, that's not special. It's done over and over and over again. But here's the point. That's anchoring one specific state. Would it be useful for you to be able to anchor yourself to move in a new direction of life? Sounds like a pretty big chunk, doesn't it? What I mean is, would it be useful for your mind to continually move in a particular direction? In other words, keep you focused on going in a certain direction? The answer is obviously yes. And a swish pattern is a way to do that. Now, normally we teach this with videotapes because it's something that's useful to see. But stay with me on this, and I think you'll pick it up rather quickly. Also, I want to warn you that if you're one of those people that says, I don't visualize, then don't even bother to do this tape because you're wasting your time. No, I'm being facetious. Anything you can do with pictures in your mind, you can also do by talking to yourself or getting feelings. I do want you to know that everyone visualizes. It's impossible not to. Invariably, if I'm doing a seminar and somebody says, well, I can't visualize, Mr. Robbins, I'll say, well, let me ask you a question. Close your eyes. And they will. And I say, what color's my tie? And they'll go red, yellow, whatever it is. And I'll say, well, how do you know? They say, well, because I see it. I said, but your eyes are closed. They go, well, I got this. Oh. See, we all have pictures, but see, some of us see pictures so fast that we don't become consciously aware of them. And also, a lot of people think that people's pictures in life are like crystal clear, perfect movies with every shade and hue, but mine aren't that clear, so obviously I'm not good at making pictures. Totally false. Most people's pictures are not that clear, although they could be. All you have to do is practice. Now, how do you practice? Well, you don't try and master everything overnight. You take a look at somebody's nose, and you focus just on their nose, not their whole face and body, and you look at it, and then you close your eyes, and then you pretend that you're seeing it in your mind. Don't actually see it, because then you'd be visualizing, we'd already be done, so don't do that yet. Actually look at their nose, close your eyes, imagine you're seeing it, open your eyes, see the nose, close your eyes, imagine you're seeing it. You do it over and over until pretty soon you're opening and closing your eyes so fast, bam, 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 back and forth, that your brain doesn't know when you're actually seeing it and when you're making it up. Pretty soon you'll get good at seeing the nose. You'll close your eyes and just be able to picture the nose. Then do nose and eyes. Then nose, eyes, and mouth, and face, and expand until you can see the whole person. If you do that for 10 minutes a day, for 10 days, you cannot believe after 10 days how good you'll be at visualizing. It's like any other muscle. It needs to be developed. And that's how you do it, is through use and practice. So right now, let's just do this thing called a swish pattern. And again, there are lots of ways to do it. I'm going to use the one that uses pictures because it's quick and we're running out of time. So let's do the following. 1, I want you to think of a negative ritual you partake in. What do I mean by that? I mean, what's a behavior or something that you do, a lot of the times, and it really bothers you. You don't want to do it anymore. Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes, and again, it's useful if you're not driving when you do this. Okay? So this is something that if you're driving your car, now is the time to pull your car over or stop the tape until you park. But preferably pull it over and do it right now. Keep your momentum going. As you notice, I've asked you to do things over and over again, and I've harassed you and teased you and played with you and cajoled you, but it's because I know the power of momentum. Don't just stop the tape and say, I'm going to do something later. Ideally, just pull over right now. It's only going to take 5 minutes, and do it. Have some fun. Besides that, people driving by will have a good time laughing as they wonder what you're doing. Now, here's what I want you to do. With your eyes closed, I want you to imagine the behavior you want to change and make a picture of it. So, for example, let's say picture yourself procrastinating, what you look like, how you behave, the very beginning of the pattern. Okay, and get a picture of that in your mind. Picture of yourself about to procrastinate, or if you pick something else, let's say about to bite your fingernails, where you actually see yourself about to partake in that behavior. Now, obviously, before we even do this, I hope you've decided that you're tired of this behavior, that it's something that you associate more pain to doing it than changing it. In other words, you want to change it now. Make sure you got some leverage on yourself. But with that presupposition in mind, what I want you to do now is see in your mind yourself beginning that pattern. And I'm talking a little bit to make sure you got time to get it in your mind. Okay? As soon as you got that image now clear in your mind, make it as clear as you can where you really see the beginning of the pattern when you're about to either bite your fingernails or procrastinate or whatever it is you want to change. Now what I want you to do is imagine that image just being pushed aside. And in its place, what I want you to do is put a big picture in front of you of how you'd like to be ultimately. In other words, create an image of yourself the way you would like to be. I'll give you a specific example with myself. I used to bite my fingernails, and I learned lots of techniques. None of them seemed to work. I even put pain on my fingernails. I put some of that stuff that you bite on it and tastes terrible. That didn't even stop me. I was on a roll. The bottom line is the only way I stopped myself was the use of a swish pattern. How? I pictured myself about to bring my fingers up to my face to bite on my nails. And I was doing this, by the way, most of the time subconsciously. I wasn't even aware I was doing it. But I was biting my fingernails literally down to the quick where they would bleed. Now, I pictured this in my mind, bringing my fingers up, and I do that over and over again until I could get that picture clear. Then I put the pictures aside. I made a second picture. The way I would like to be ultimately, not just not biting my fingernails, but the kind of person I'm committed to being, the kind of person who would never bite their fingernails. I pictured myself dressed a certain way, with certain jewelry, with certain communication styles, with certain gestures. I saw myself having this tremendous impact on all these people. I looked like and felt like that was the person I'm committed to being, someone absolutely a model of success, happiness, joy, power, wealth. Sure enough, as I got this image, I got inspired. And that is the second thing you've got to do. Create a new picture of how you want to be, an image of yourself the way you really are committed to being, your ideal self, your ultimate self. So, 2 steps so far. Step 1, you get a clear picture of the behavior you want to change, and you get it where you see it about to happen. Now that you can create that picture, put it aside. Second picture you made is how you absolutely are committed to being, your ultimate self, your ideal self, how you'd behave, and make that picture something that would inspire you. In other words, it's the kind of person you want to continually move towards, no matter what you're doing, even when you're not thinking about it consciously. So after you've established these 2 pictures, what do? Well, we want to condition your brain so that the old behavior, the beginnings of it, like for me, starting to bite my fingernails, will trigger a new behavior that empowers you and actually doesn't just change the habit, but enhances your life in many ways. How do we do that? Well, it's a matter of positioning and repetition. Let me tell you what I did to give you an example. I took this image of myself biting my fingernails, the behavior I wanted to change, and I made that picture really big and I put it right in front of me where I could see it. Then what I did is I took this picture of the kind of person I was committed to being, the ultimate Tony Robbins, and I took that image and made it small and tiny and imagined putting it behind the big picture and making it part of a slingshot. And literally pulling it back, in other words, further and further away from me. But as it got further and further back, it got smaller and smaller, and I felt like there was tension connecting the two. And at the last moment, I literally let go of that picture. I let go of the positive image of myself. And what happens is it came screaming in, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and wham, exploded through the old picture into my mind. And you go, well, what in the world are you talking about, Robbins? Here's what I'm saying. You do that over and over again. What you're saying to your brain is, see this? This thing I don't want to do, whap, boom. Do this. See this? Wham, do this. See this? Wham, do this. See this? Wham, do this. And you do it over and over and over. Now, each time I did it, I made a weird noise. You go, what's the weird noise? I said, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Now you go, well, that sounds like a real technical approach, Robbins. Maybe even a bit juvenile. The point is, by making the sound, I was putting my physiology, my body, into an excitable state. So we call it a swish pattern or a whoosh pattern. By doing this over and over again, you condition your mind so that the old behavior literally moves you towards being the ideal person you want to be. So with myself, I did it over and over and over again, till pretty soon, literally, if I started to bite my fingernails, my brain would immediately push that picture away and see me being the ideal person who had perfect nails, great jewelry, great communication skills, great person, and it chunked up. I know those things aren't supposed to connect, but your brain doesn't work logically. And my brain said, hey, I'm this kind of person. I don't bite my fingernails. I don't do any of it consciously. By doing it over and over again, it literally stopped my fingernail biting. How often? I did it about 25 times as fast as I could, where each time I felt the picture breaking through and I saw myself as being the ideal person each and every time, and I felt the joy of that. I did it for 25 times. For a couple days, I didn't bite my fingernails at all. In fact, a couple times I noticed my fingers coming up to my mouth, where normally I wouldn't have noticed anything. See, my brain became sensitized. One time I actually started to bite it. Now my brain could have said, oh my God, that's failure. This stuff doesn't work. That'd be pretty stupid, wouldn't it? All it says is I need to condition it a little bit more. So I did 25 more of these things, and I've never touched my fingernails since. I mean, it literally can be that strong for you if all you do is do it through repetition and, again, speed. It's important you see this, wham, do this. See this, wham, do this. The speed is what's most important, and that you really feel the breakthrough each and every time. Does that make sense? Let's do some, and we'll finish up this session. 1, put in front of you the picture you want to change. Maybe the picture of you beginning to procrastinate. 2, take the image of your ideal self, the one that inspires you, the kind of person that would never procrastinate in a million years. That make it happen type of person. Take that image, make it small, and literally with your hand, pull it back behind the other one and feel as if there's tension there. That's right, like it's a slingshot. When I say now, you're going to let go of it and actually feel it come through and break through. And while you do it, you're going to say whoosh. Actually, you might even bring your hand forward with it, actually as if it was breaking through. So you can feel the breakthrough. See and feel yourself being your ideal self, and then we're going to do it again. Bring back the old image, the behavior you don't want to have happen, make it big and bright in front of you. Take the way you want things to be and make it small and dim. Pull it back, and remember, when you let go, it's like a slingshot. It gets bigger and brighter, and it literally bursts through and destroys the old picture, and in its place creates this new image of how you want to be, and you see and feel the breakthrough as if it's real in your body right now. Ready? Do it again. Ready? Whoosh. Okay? Do it again. Bring back the old picture, small picture in the back. Ready? Go. Whoosh. Actually feel the victory each time. Ready? Do it again. Whoosh. Do it again. Faster. Whoosh. Do it again. A little faster. Whoosh. Do it again. A little faster. Whoosh. Stop. Now, I want you to do this 5 times in your head as fast as you can. I'm not going to say anything. You just do it 5 times. Each time, feel the breakthrough. Go for it. Should be good. Make sure you feel the breakthrough. Excellent. Do it again. Good. Make sure you do it at least 5 times. Faster. Each time do it faster. You can do it more than 5 times. Great. Now, you should have done it by 5 times, at least by now. Now, try something now. Think of the old behavior and tell me what happens in your mind. If you've done it fast enough, either you won't get back to the old image, or you'll just get the whoosh. You'll get the image or the feeling of that. All you have to do is do this rapidly. So here's your homework for today. Number 1 homework for today is this. I want you now to stop and pick an emotion that you'd like to be able to have literally at your fingertips. Again, whether it be motivation, passion, excitement, happiness, curiosity, confidence, creativity, and I want you to anchor it in. How are you going to do that? 1, you're going to decide the emotion. 2, you're going to get yourself back in times when you really felt that way. And 3, you are going to link that feeling to something. Snap of your fingers, the making of a fist, clapping your hands and saying yes, something. You do it over and over again until when you do it, you can condition yourself and you'll literally feel the way you want to feel. You follow me? Create 1 positive anchor that really works and do it over and over again until it works. And 2, I want you to do at least 15 swish patterns, taking you from procrastination into the person you absolutely are committed to be, who makes things happen and does not delay. Those are your 2 exercises. We've covered a lot today, to say the least. But if you go through and apply these, you can find this to be something that can literally change your entire conditioning and therefore your ongoing behavior. There's real power in this, so please discipline yourself. And if you need to listen to some things twice, that's fine. Again, there are lots of ways to get more information. Start with what you got right now. If you want more, let us know. But the point is, use what you know already right now today. And when you come back tomorrow, we're going to work on unleashing the financial genius within you. Till then, have fun with your anchors and live with passion.